Yes, you're correct. This video is about 8 months late. But I hope you don't mind me doing it anyway, because I want to tell you my favourite books of 2020 before the end of 2021. If you're wondering what the weird noises in the background are, most likely it is this one-eyed bun named Chansey running around causing trouble. Isn't that right? So, 2020 was an amazing reading year for me. I read way more than I've ever read in my life before, and that is thanks to audiobooks. I read really slowly when I'm reading physical books, but for my job I drive around a lot, so I spend a lot of time listening to audiobooks, and also while I'm cleaning at home and everything. So really, most of the books that I read last year were audiobook, like I want to say 90% of them. So I'm just looking at my Goodreads reading challenges like for previous years and stuff, and my best reading year before last year was 2013, and I read 43 books that year. Then after that we got 27, then 35, then 12, and then I just stopped reading for like 4 years. And then last year I read 62 books. And this year so far I've read 79 books, and today is the 4th of August, so yeah, that's how great audiobooks have been for me. I'm very grateful that that's a thing that's available. Okay, so I think we're gonna go ahead and just get started. I've sort of put this list in order of my favorites to some extent. It's not like perfect, but the last book that I'll mention is definitely my #1 favorite. All the others, like, it's not really a hierarchy, but I sort of tried to put them in some sort of order. So the first book is Normal People by Sally Rooney, and this book is responsible for me getting back into reading and starting my YouTube channel back up again. So basically, I've got my 2 closest friends. They both read this book and watched the TV show, and they were talking about it, and I was like, oh, I want to be in on this, like, I want to be in on the talking about this, and they were still watching it at the time, I think. And so I was like, oh, I've listened to audiobooks before, I may as well try it. And so I listened to this on audiobook, loved it, absolutely loved the show, and then I was like, why don't I just keep listening to audiobooks? So yes, I'm sure you all know what Normal People is about. It's just a coming of age sort of about 2 main characters, Connell and Marianne. It's basically just about the 2 main characters who grow up together in the same hometown, and they go to the same school together, but that's about all they have in common, and they're very different. Connell is very popular in school, Marianne is not. She's kind of like a nerd, a bit of a loner. And then it's kind of just about, like, they finish school and they go off to college, and it's just kind of it's just a character exploration, and I really loved it. And I will definitely be rereading this many times. I'm just gonna be like slowly disassembling my bookshelf as I go, because like the books that I buy, because I listen to mostly audiobooks, I just buy the books that I really enjoy. So I'm gonna take like half of the books away right now. I'm missing a book. I am missing a book. Where is it? One of my favorite books. Where is it? It must be here somewhere. The next book is a book that I have a copy of, but I just can't find it. I don't know where it is. I moved recently, so it's got to be somewhere. But anyway, that book is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And this was also an early read in the year, and it's kind of a similar vibe, I guess, to Normal People. It is adult fiction, and it's about our main character, Eleanor Oliphant, who is just fine. Like, she's just doing fine. She's got kind of a bland job. She's just doing the 9-to-5 grind, and it's just about pretty much just her coming to terms with her mental state, I guess, and coming to realize that things should probably be better than fine for the rest of your life. The next book is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I'm sure you all know this book as well. I love this book. It's a science fiction book set in space, and it's part of a series, but the series like doesn't really relate to each other that closely, so you don't have to read all of them, or you can read them out of order, but there's not really, like, sometimes there's character overlaps, but yeah, they're kind of separate from each other. And I've got the other books here as well, which I've read, and I also loved. I didn't like Record of a Spaceborne Few as much as the others, but the others I really love, but this is definitely my favorite one. It is about basically a crew who are on a ship, and the main character, Rosemary's only just joined the crew, and they're just chilling out, and then they get offered this really awesome mission to build a, what's it called? Build a hyperspace tunnel to a distant planet, and it's just one big adventure. It's amazing. I love these characters. These characters and like the inclusivity, it's just... The next book I have to talk about is The Loudness of Unsaid Things by Hildy Hinton, and you've probably never heard of this book. This is an Australian author, and I think I just heard about this book on an Audible list, probably like the best Australian audiobooks or something like that, and it's not very popular, and it has very mixed reviews. So this is one of those books that you'll either love it or you'll hate it, and I don't know how to explain to you what this is about. I feel like this one is good to go into blind, but it reminds me a lot of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. Our main character, Miss K, works at the Institute, which is a mental hospital, and we follow basically Miss K and then a young child, Susie, and it's just about... I don't know, you have to go into this one blind. I don't even know what else to tell you. This book just really explores loneliness and isolation. That's why it reminds me a lot of Eleanor Oliphant. So I think if you liked Eleanor Oliphant, you might like this, although I have a friend who loved Eleanor Oliphant and she didn't like this book and didn't finish it. So, but I love this book. I might even like it more than Eleanor Oliphant. I don't know. But yes, it's amazing. The next book is The Vanishing Half by Brit Bennett, and this was just so good. And all of the books on this list were so good. This is about two twin sisters who are both sort of white passing. So they have like, they're like lighter skinned African American women, and they basically end up leading two very different lives, and it's kind of an it's kind of an exploration of race in a very interesting way, because it's two twin sisters and just their very polar opposite experiences of life because of how they choose to display or not display their race. This book is so important. I think everyone needs to read this book. The next book that is on this list, I don't have a physical copy of right now because I've lent it out to a friend, and that is Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is the second book in the Diviners Quartet series. I read the first book years and years ago when it first came out and absolutely loved it, and then it took forever for the second book to come out, I think, and it was kind of in that period where I wasn't reading, so I reread the Diviners and then finished the rest of the series last year as well, and I'm pretty sure Lair of Dreams was my favourite. I really just loved, it was so eerie, that just everything about dreams. Obviously I can't say much about this book because it's the second book in a series, but the Diviners is a like historical paranormal mystery. It's just the mood and the atmosphere in these books and the characters, they're so amazing. I'm someone who gets really confused when there's lots of characters in a book. These books have a lot of characters, I think, for me, and a lot of, I guess, main characters, and they were all so distinct to me. I got really attached to them, and Lair of Dreams, I think, just had the best plot out of all of them. It was just so interesting. The next book has just gone and ruined my bookshelf, and that is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. And this book is interesting for me because When I first read it, I think I gave it 4 stars or 4.5 stars, I'm not sure. I really liked it, but I just kind of felt like there was something missing. I wasn't sure what. I don't know if I think maybe the ending, I wanted more from the ending, I don't know. But then, like, I'm still thinking about it now, and I still, like, talk to people about it, and it sticks in my mind, and I'm like, that's a 5-star book. So I upped my rating to a 5-star, and it's been a long time since I read this book, and I still think about this book. It's amazing. It is just unbelievable to me that this is a debut. This is Kiley Reid's debut novel. I will definitely read anything that Kiley Reid puts out in the future. This was just so well written. The plot is so clever and intricate, and I read this so fast, and again, by read, I mean listened to. All of the books so far, I listened to on audiobook. It's just, the characters are so good. The social commentary is so interesting. If you don't know what this book is about, it's about our main character, Amira, who is babysitting for a white family. Amira is African American. She's babysitting for a white family, and it's at night. She takes the baby to, like, a shop, some sort of shop, and she's just shopping there, and then someone accuses her of abducting the child. And obviously she hasn't abducted the child, she's babysitting the child, and then a big argument breaks out, someone films it, all of that, and then the plot takes off from there. And the mother of the child basically forms this weird sort of obsession, attachment to Amira, and that's kind of where the performative activism thing kicks in. This is also a must read. Like, this and The Vanishing Half, must read. Next book is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, and I also read the first book, Get a Life, Chloe Brown? Get a Life, Chloe Brown? Yes, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I also read the first book last year and loved it. It's so hard for me to pick a favourite in the series. I've read the third book as well, and I don't know. This one might be my favourite. I don't know. Like, they all follow the same formula, so I almost feel like they're just equally good, but they're just hilarious. They are hilarious. And I'm, like, listening to these in the car and I'm laughing out loud. I don't think I need to tell you what this is about, but it is an adult romance trilogy following 3 sisters, the Brown sisters, and each book is about a different sister. This book is about Danny and romance. It's just a cute, fluffy, hilarious romance. The next book is The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this book is written in verse. It reads really quickly because of that. I listened to the audiobook again. The audiobook is amazing. I would really recommend listening to it on audiobook. And it follows our main character who sort of writes poetry as a hobby, and she sort of doesn't feel like she fits in. There's a romance in this book, but mostly it's about the main character finding her voice, and she joins a slam poetry club, and that's sort of where the plot takes off. And it's just, I love the exploration of family dynamics in this. It really, like, resonated with me, and yeah, I highly recommend this. The next book is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. This was my first V.E. Schwab book that I've ever read, and I definitely need to continue reading her stuff. I loved this. It lived up to the hype for me. It is a bit slow, and it's completely character driven, so if you don't like the characters, then I do agree with people who say that the character who gets introduced later in the book is a better character than Addie LaRue, the main character, but I still just loved it. This is another one that I got through so quickly, despite it being slow. I just was, like, so invested. And if you don't know what this is about, which I'm sure you do, again, it is about Addie LaRue, who makes a deal with the devil that she can live forever, but everyone will forget her. And I think she makes this deal to get out of a marriage that she doesn't want, and so basically every time she meets someone, as soon as they turn away from her, they forget about her completely. Next, this is probably my second favourite. So all the others have kind of been in a very rough order, but I would say this is my second favourite of the year. and that is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Illuminae Files trilogy, and this was the best book. This was hands down the best book. I gave all of them 5 stars, but this was the best. It is just wild. It's just wild, okay? If you don't know what the series is about, it is a sci-fi series set in space, and it is basically told in a case file format, so sort of like a brief of evidence that's handed in court. So it basically is about a court case, but really it's not about the court case at all. It's only like 2% about the court case, and everything else is just what's in the files. Oh my god, this is one of few books that I read physically, obviously. And all of these tabs are just funny moments from our friend Aiden. We all love Aiden. The ending of this is wild. I don't know how they came up with it. It's wild. And the last book is my #1 favorite. It's definitely one of my favorite books of all time now, and that is Honeybee by Craig Silvie. And this is another one you've probably also not heard of unless you're from Australia. This is an Australian author, and this book, I don't cry in books, but this one made my eyeballs water. Like, it's hard for me to cry with anything, but this one made my eyeballs water. So that's, if you like books that make you cry, you will bawl. You will bawl your eyes out in this book. Basically, the book starts with our main character, Sam, and he's on a bridge and he's about to take his life. And there's Vic, who is also about to take his life. And they both basically, I guess, save each other, and it just takes off from there. And main character Sam has a really hard home life. He's coming to terms with his identity. So the main character Sam is quite young. I think he's probably in his early 20s. And the other character, Vic, is older. He is probably in his 30s to 40s, and it's basically about their friendship and the unlikeliness of their friendship, and oh, it's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I seriously recommend this. This isn't one of those books that just makes you cry because it's tragic and nothing good happens and it's just tragic, like this guy. Where is he? This guy right here? We're not like that, don't worry. It's sad, but it's also extremely hopeful, and I really think more people should read this, and it upsets me that more people haven't read this. And just like, because it's an Australian author, you know, Australian books just don't go worldwide, I guess. But this deserves to, so take this bad boy worldwide, please. It's amazing. Seriously, read this book, please. Okay, that is all of my favorite books of 2020. Sorry that it's a bit late, just like a little bit. It's just a little bit late. Could have been worse, it could have been later. It could always be later. Also, side note, I mentioned this in my last video that I had my Sony a7 III taken by police a 1.5 years ago because I was arrested whilst I had the Sony a7 III on my person, and it took them a 1.5 years to get it back to me, but I have it back. So drastic improvement in video quality, I hope. And yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun editing this video because of the quality. I'm excited. Anyway, that is everything, and I will see you next time. I don't know how to end videos, so I kind of just do what inspires me in the moment.